For analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
Hello and welcome to the channel. So today I want to give you guys a quick market update. Let's get straight into this. So here we're looking at the S&P 500. This is the weekly chart. I'm seeing a few things here. So there's a few triggers to look for in this Ichimoku cloud. The first is a crossover of the conversion line to the baseline, which we have. Also, when you have the price crossing over either the conversion line or the baseline, that is also a signal. When you get this twist here, that is also a signal. So we have several signals indicating that we could see further continuation to the downside. So I think it really depends on what happens in the Ukraine. I personally expect this to get worse, so I personally at this moment expect further downside on the S&P. Just my opinion, obviously not investment advice. Here on the VIX, we've got 35, so this has continued to stay elevated. To take a quick look at the put-call ratio, we're at just about 1, so it basically suggests there's indecision in the market. There's about an equal amount of both puts and calls in the market. So the percentage of stocks above the 50-day moving average, here we're sitting here just above 23%. Back down in this 2020 crash, it was almost nothing, down here around 1%. So these are really the major lows that you're looking for. What we have now is similar to significant lows we have seen before, but not as bad as some of the worst crashes. So we'll have to monitor this, see if this reverses, but we could still have further downside to go before we see a final reversal here. To get into the cryptos, all right, guys, I know you hate me for this, but looking back at the weekly Bitcoin chart, I have been looking at the daily, and it looked like in the short term we were getting somewhat of a reversal towards the upside, but this is pretty damn clear. When you're looking at the weekly chart, you have this beautiful cloud here, and we've got that twist not too long ago. So not going to say much about this, just on a longer time frame, that's what we're seeing. But counter to that narrative, this does look like a similar pattern to what we were seeing before this reversed. The issue here is the talk about regulations. I think that could definitely put more pressure on this particular market. But long term, just calling it like I see it, I would be cautious here personally, but that is just me. In addition, another piece of evidence building this story here is we do have increasing Bitcoin shorts. So if this continues to rise, then I would expect further pressure on this market. The really interesting thing, probably the most interesting chart that I'm going to show you today, at least in my perspective, is Monero. This is pretty crazy here. This bar is massive. mean, this thing is crazy. Look at, compared to any of these other bars, this thing is massive. The pattern I see here setting up is a 3-bar play. So essentially what you have is a bullish engulfing bar, a massive green bar with volume breaking above a previous resistance level. Here, the second bar, you have basically a resting bar. So as long as this bar stays within the top 25% of this previous bar, we're still in play. Basically, if we break above the top of this around 207, 208, that's when you have this thing taking off. And it could be a 3 or a 4-bar play, and it could fail potentially. But all I'm saying is if it breaks above around maybe 207, 208, the top of this bar here, if it breaks above that, then there's definitely a trade in the works. And I just find it interesting. I think maybe with this regulation, some of the whales are getting out, or even a single massive whale could potentially create something like this. So we will see if this continues, but this is definitely the outlier here. This thing is just spiking big time. When we look at the weekly chart, again, breaking above. We are still in a downtrend, though, so, I mean, you do have to be careful here, but at least as far as the short term, back in the daily, this is setting up that trade with a potential 3-bar play. And again, that is only if it breaks above the previous high. So short term looks bullish. Medium term to longer term, we're still in this downtrend. But this is interesting in the context of a Bitcoin that has been going down. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on this one big time. Haven. So Haven is basically flat. It has been doing nothing. TradingView saying this is a buy. I don't know how it gets some of its signals. I don't agree with it half the time, but half the time when it says buy, the move's over and that's it. So, but here, yeah, just flat. I don't expect anything out of Haven, to be honest with you. So, I haven't looked into fundamentals, though, if there's any catalysts in this project. Let me know in the comments below. Let the community know. Definitely your input would be greatly appreciated. Pirate Chain, pretty neutral here. TradingView has it as a buy. Again, we did get this twist. Tried to fail. This thing's much lower, though. And at this point, with everything that's going on, I mean, again, I am not giving any investment advice, but we just need to start using these things, learning how they work, actually transacting with them. We can speculate all we want, and it's just going to be a transfer of wealth to either good traders or people who are early to, people who don't know what they're doing, and that doesn't really generate any real value. But having the actual network effect of people transacting outside of fiat will build the value. So obviously not investment advice, but the more we can actually use these things, the more that basically the better off everyone will be, and these things won't be spiking and crashing so much. They'll just be used in a perfect world, at least. Let's look at Dero. Pretty neutral here. Again, this thing I think doesn't know which way to go. Really, the key level I'm looking at around 1120 on the downside, and this is really more of a range up here. So Yeah, this thing's neutral. It's really hard to call this one. I think it's going to probably depend on some of these other coins. I would watch definitely Monero. If some of these bigger privacy coins start spiking, you may see that move into these other smaller caps. And I hope to see that. I hope people finally figure out what's going on and care enough to actually do something about it. Anyway, I'll get into that later, but yeah, you know, we're participating in who's buying these planes that are going to the Ukraine. That's going to be us, my friends. So, yep. Anchor was one I talked about. This thing was spiking big time. That's why I try not to hold stuff like this. I mean, a lot of these, like John McAfee said, 90% are a scam. I don't know about this particular. I think actually the protocol probably works, but the protocol working and the coin going up don't necessarily both have to occur at the same time. You can have a working protocol that coins don't go up, that it's just a good blockchain, and you can have coins going up that are just garbage that don't have any fundamentals. So again, you got to be careful. I like to try and lock in my profits early, and a lot of these I'll just essentially at least get my principal back and hold the profits. So anyway, that's how I do it. But you know, some of the people, the longer term people who were in this earlier, did a lot better. So who am I to say? But so I think this is probably over for the time being. I think it's going to probably have some small correction. I mean, probably try to come up and then, you know, probably continue down. That's how these patterns usually play out. So let's look at Ghost. Ghost is down a bit, back down to around a market cap of 5.6 million. It was up about 6.6. This thing's pretty much range bound. Has a good around 25% staking rewards though. So, and this is one I would encourage again people to just use, and that's how this thing's going to actually grow. But this is just one option. Of course, Pirate, Monero, any of these really work for what they're intended. Epic Cash, yeah, I'm waiting for this thing to cool down. It's still a low market cap. That's pretty good, 20 million. With the amount of attention this has gotten, long term definitely could be something here, but yeah, with this type of pattern, I would never buy something like this. I would wait until this thing, well, you saw what Haven did. It kept going down, 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 and then it just stayed flat. And then when it's flat, you could consider, but I like to wait till it's confirming a reversal clearly. That's just personal preference, but I also mentioned this back in this dip back here, so I hope some people were able to catch this move here, and I hope they didn't hold it all the way back down. All right, guys, I know again you guys don't want to hear this, but well, some of you might, but I know there's a lot of crypto only people, and I've been talking about gold. Nobody watches the gold portion. They'll click off as soon as I talk about gold. I know it's boring, but making money isn't boring to me, so hey, it's all good. But we're up here right around the all-time high. If you look at the long-term pattern, we have to go to the monthly to see the, all right, no, we can do this on the weekly. But this is a 10-year cup and handle pattern. This thing has been forming. We have that little handle, and then breaking straight out. So we'll see if JP Morgan can short this thing and smash it back down. Maybe they can. But if you look at this pattern and you basically measure from the top of this cup down to the bottom, get rid of these, and then you project that up, which is how you essentially get a price target on these. You're looking at above, depending on how you measure this thing, I would say 28 to 2900. Again, is that guaranteed? No, but this is a very nice pattern here that has been forming for a very long time, and it does look to be playing out. So I think over the next year or two, I would think by the end of the year, but again, predictions tell you more about the predictor than the future. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt and let me know what you think. But I would think this would play out sometime within a year. Another thing is you have to have patience with these things. These things take a long time to develop. And you want to be positioned when the moves occur. So interesting pattern here. Silver is pretty much following gold to a degree, a little bit slower, but still looks good. And with the actual both monetary and industrial uses for this, I think the future, I think we will see higher prices, although I don't think we'll see necessarily such a massive spike. But we are here. The all-time high is near $50, and we're about half of that. So this thing could go up quite a bit. The other thing, I don't have the chart ready, but platinum is about half of its all-time high. One issue with platinum is 40% is mined in Russia, 40% in South Africa, and 20% in the rest of the world. So if this continues and 40% of the actual physical platinum is going to be off the market, essentially, if people are not trading with Russia, that could really reduce the availability and could spike price in platinum. So I'm keeping my eye on that as well. And the one that I don't like to look at, because I drive quite a bit and I really, it's incredible that they told us they were going to intentionally raise the price of gas a long time ago, and that they were going to make it prohibitively expensive to use and then subsidize electric. I believed them that they were going to do that, but now that I see how it's been done, it's really disgusting. But they did it, so here we go. Oil's still spiking. Hard to say, but how far this will go. Yeah, it's probably going higher, so get ready for that, guys. Yeah, so that's why, hey, I made this channel just to build a community, to make money together, to work together, and not to get taken down by this system that is definitely against people. And really what's unfortunate is the younger people get screwed every time. That's just how it is. So yeah, I don't want you guys to get taken down. I'm not trying to get taken down. And so I'm just trying to give a realistic perspective on the market, thinking long term, not having any bias. If it's cryptos, if it's gold, if it's, I don't give a shit what it is. I'm just going to trade the market I have and try to give you guys the insight that I can. And that's all I can do, my friends. So hope everyone is doing well. I hope this video helped. Thank you all for watching. Give me a thumbs up, all that. If you can, it's greatly appreciated. So take care, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.